Hi, I'm Dana, and I'm once again doing a different video to usual. But I say that so often now that I'm like, what is my usual? Do I have a usual? Because it feels like every video is a little bit different. But today's video, I wanted to talk about fat kid trauma. I don't know what else to call it, and it's not something I've seen anyone else talk about like extensively or like in any sort of long form media. It's normally like a funny little TikTok that you scroll past because it's like 10 seconds long. And I want to get in on it because I feel like growing up as the fat kid and being overweight up until like my early 20s really fucked me up. And it's not so much being fat fucked me up. The way people treat and react to fat people is horrible, and it resulted in a lot of issues that I still carry with me despite no longer being overweight. And I think it's something that we really need to talk about more and sort of like explore as a society to help combat fat phobia and stop it from being a thing, because it's fucking stupid and horrible. So I want to start the video by going into some of the things that I went through and experienced purely because I was fat, like for no reason other than that. I was always chubby, I was always bigger than other kids and whatever, and there was a point where I was definitely what you would have called fat, and that was the majority of my life. So the first sort of inkling I had that I wasn't going to have much of a fun time because of that was from my brothers. I grew up with two brothers that are 8 and 9 years older than me, and they were the very typical like skinny, constantly on the go, always eating loads but not putting any weight on kind of teenage lads while I was growing up. And they tormented me. They were really fucking mean to me about it. And that was my first like, oh shit, there's something about me that I can't control in any way, and people are gonna be mean about it. And boy were they. It was worst for me in primary school for sure. You know, the younger the kid, the less they have knowledge of like impulse control, the less that they care about other people's feelings. You just don't know as much when you're like 8 years old. So I would have kids that would just straight up walk up to me and be like, you're fat, and you get all of the little playground rhymes and little songs and nicknames, and just like, I was a weird kid. Like, I was a very bizarre child. There was a point when I had like a goth phase and went into school in like a full black trench coat with Doc Martens and a coffin backpack as like an 8 or 9 year old. Like, I was a bizarre, weird little child. But people other kids very rarely went in on me for like the very odd things I was doing, because they were so pre-concerned and like preoccupied with the fact that I was fat. So I do feel like that kind of saved me in some ways. But they got there eventually anyway, so it didn't really make a difference. It was just the main thing for a long time because it was the most visible and obvious difference. I could go deeper into that, but I've done like a whole video about being bullied. I guess I'll link it here. Like, if I have to be bullied, I may as well like profit from it in some way, I guess. But like, I was being bullied so much for like such an array of things for the most part that like it was just another thing. And I sort of just dealt with it and moved on, and I'm definitely still like affected by the bullying in some ways, but who fucking isn't, quite frankly? The popular kids, they're fine, but those of us who are a little different or a little odd, who isn't? The things that I think really fucked me up were the things that came from my parents, and more specifically my mother. And I'm really curious as to if other people experienced most of these. The first, I'll start with the stuff I know other people experienced, which is Weight Watchers and Slimming World when you're a fucking child. Don't take your children, don't take any fucking minor or anyone who doesn't want to be there to some sort of fucking dieting or slimming club. It's so shitty, don't do it. Like, being like 9, 10, 11 years old and being given that kind of messaging that like food is sins and you've got to like just, it's such unhealthy messaging around food that like, I wasn't losing weight anyway. It made me feel 10 times worse, and it started many of my food issues. Like, that was around the time that I started like eating in secret and stealing food and shit, because I was so like, my parents don't want me to eat. And I felt so ashamed if I enjoyed food. Like, if I had a really good dessert, or if we finally went out to eat, which we did very rarely when I was a child, or if we got takeaway. Like, I enjoyed food a lot. I'm a big food person. I fucking love a good schwan. And I felt so guilty for enjoying food because it was this thing that was like damaging me and making me worse. And like, fatness is not a bad thing. It's such a horrible message to be given a child that like, you can't even enjoy a piece of birthday cake as like an 11-year-old. Because it's going to make you fat, it's going to make you even fatter, and then you'll be even less worthy of anything. And my parents were a little on the new wave end of things. My dad set up a business that was straight up hocus pocus. It was fucking bullshit. It's not, but I don't trust that my dad knew what he was doing. So we had a business doing like meditation and hypnotherapy and Reiki and Hopi ear candling and all sorts of the Google Gaga sort of like new age medicine stuff. And again, I'm sure that lots of it does work if it's done by someone who like knows how to do it. But I don't for a moment trust that my parents knew how to do it, because it didn't fucking work. But it did mean that I got to, again, a very young child, like 7, 8, 9 kind of age, I got to sit in on group meditation and group hypnotherapy sessions for weight loss. So like little tiny baby me sat with a bunch of fully grown women, many of whom were already very, very thin, which only further served like a message in my mind that like even those skinny women are fat and need to lose weight, you know. And it was also obviously an issue for them because they were fine and they didn't need to lose weight anyway, and they especially didn't need to do it by paying like £30 to get some hypnotherapy or meditation. But that was what my parents were running, and they forced me to sit in on it. I quite often, like the business that they ran was in like, it was one building but it had like 2 different rooms, and I always spent time in this one room, and they wouldn't let me stay in there when they were doing this. They would be like, no, you need to come in here and sit in on this and do what we tell you to. So I'd get hypnotized, I'd have to meditate all around weight loss and losing weight and being skinny and not getting hungry and not eating so much, and it was just fucking horrible. So coming into my teen years, and like, I say teen years, I'm going from like the age of 12 here. As a 12-year-old, I started to develop a lot of issues with food, like trigger warning for eating disorders. Sorry, I should have said that earlier. I'm not going to go super in on it, but I developed a lot of issues around food, and no one gave a fuck because I was still fat. Like, it had to have been clear to my parents especially. Like, there was a point where I was eating 8 egg whites a night for my tea. Like, my parents would like cook themselves a full meal and be like, are you making yourself something? I'd be like, yeah, I am, I'm having my egg. And I would like separate the yolk from it and put that in the bin so I could scramble 1 egg white and have it with some like salt and pepper in a bowl every night for like months, and they didn't acknowledge that in any way. You know, like, I was a teenager and I was depressed as fuck and not having a good time in any fucking way. So eventually I'd binge again, and that'd set that cycle up for a few weeks. I would then have like weeks of binging. So any weight that I had lost, I would then put back on. And it was such like an unnoticeable amount of weight anyway, especially when you're already overweight. So no one said anything, no one did anything, no one gave a shit. And there'd be, that was a lie. There was one time that my nan had taken us shopping in Primark, and I'd gone down a dress size from what I usually was. And her and my mother like made the biggest fucking deal out of it. Like, suddenly, like, it went from them being so shit about like everything I wore and every way that I looked, and because I'd gone down a single dress size, suddenly it was, oh my gosh, you look great, you look so healthy, you look so good, you're really coming into yourself, you're such a beautiful young woman. Like, it was so validating and nice. And it fucking shouldn't have been. It was bullshit. And I was like in so much pain to have lost this one dress size that I very quickly gained back. Like, throughout my later teen years, I was just constantly on diets and constantly trying to lose weight and constantly going vegan to try and lose weight. And then I just sort of had enough. Like, I just, you know, I'd been through so much and was dealing with so much at that time that I just couldn't be bothered anymore. I was just like, I'm gonna be fat, fuck it. Like, I don't care. And I'd also made friends with someone at the time who was also overweight and just sort of rocked it and looked great and didn't seem to care. Like, we had some deeper conversations in the end where I saw that like they felt as terrible about themselves as I did, but they hid it much better. And it gave me so much confidence to see them doing that I was just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna be fat, like, it's fine. I don't care anymore. And it was doing that and making that decision that I decided to then go vegan for like textural issues and like sensory issues with food anyway, as well as like the animals and the planet and blah blah blah, all the reasons that people go vegan that aren't shitty weight loss reasons, you know. And it was like, because they were good reasons, I actually stuck to it that time. And that was why in my early 20s I then started to lose weight, and I also ended up with quite a laborious job. Like, I was just moving around a lot more. I was eating a lot healthier purely because there weren't as many vegan options as there are now. Like, I eat so much like pizza and just shit now. Like, I really don't know how I haven't gained weight back, honestly. But yeah, there were less options, and I couldn't eat constant chocolate bars and order pizza every fucking time I wanted it because there weren't any vegan ones. So I lost weight quite quickly. And that's where we get into like the trauma. I think there's a very different perspective that comes once you've lost weight without becoming fat phobic, because a lot of people lose weight and become assholes about it, like, let's face it. And so much of like weight loss content and weight loss media and the things that like you consume while trying to lose weight are so focused around like, but like it's the insidious side of diet culture, you know? Hi.
Hello.
You okay?
Copper.
Yes, please. I've returned with copper and made notes of what I was talking about so I can just carry on. Might be a genius. So yeah, what I think I was saying was that when the weight loss is intentional, there's a lot of like really shitty fat phobia and diet culture that comes along with it. And I feel like from having lost weight without like really meaning to, I have a slightly different perspective on it. Like I still have plenty of internalized fat phobia against myself and a lot of like fear about getting fat again and people treating me badly again. But I don't feel like I carry that over to like being shitty to fat people now, you know? I don't like think poorly of other fat people. I just worry about being treated badly again based entirely on the way that my body looks. On the trauma and lasting effects, anytime I meet new people, anytime I make new friends, anytime I'm in a new relationship, there's a massive part of my brain that is immediately like, would they like me if I was still fat? And it's a bit silly, it's a bit ridiculous, but you know, like I've had those situations where I've thought I'm like bonding with someone, I'm gonna be this person's friend, it's all gonna go really well, and then they make some shitty offhanded comment about like a fat person over there, like some shitty comment about someone's body, and I'm like, oh, a few years ago you'd been making that comment about me. Outside of just worrying about what other people think and how other people would have behaved if I was this and if I was that, there's also just the lasting trauma of like, I grew up not being allowed to like myself and not being able to feel good about myself and constantly being reminded that like, it's okay to be the way you are, but you need to do more to not be like this. You need to do better. Yeah, like I don't think anyone should be getting messages that their body isn't good enough or that they're not good enough or that they need to change. But especially in childhood, being constantly given those messages, it's not gonna create healthy, stable, happy adults for the most part, you know? And people also don't talk about when you lose weight, if you've lost a lot of weight, like I lost around 200 pounds, I've got hella loose skin. Like, I don't know how people be like popping into these snatched little bodies after losing huge amounts of weight, because I fucking didn't. I don't know anyone who like lost a good amount of weight that isn't a celebrity of some sort and has shit tons of money for surgery, that just suddenly has this like perfect little body that you can see the abs through, you know? Like I can feel my ribs, but I can't see them because there's a bunch of loose skin there. And that, like, I you know, when I've brought this up in the past, I've very much been given the message of like, oh, well, it's better than being fat, isn't it? And I kind of don't think it is, you know? Like, personally, I was getting like some backache and not feeling so healthy and like, and I do feel healthier now, I'll give. That's not the case for everyone. Weight doesn't equal health. But I also feel like significantly worse about like my body and body image, because like, it doesn't feel like a normal body anymore. And I know that fat bodies are also like made to feel like we're not normal and like they're not right and like there's something wrong with them. But especially now you can still find fat people that are like, yo, I'm fat and I'm gorgeous and I'm beautiful and here's a bunch of pictures of me being fat and beautiful. And when I was fat, I could look at them and be like, oh yeah, I see myself here, I see my body type, I see like this part of myself that I don't like, that she's absolutely rocking and I feel better about it now. And personally, I haven't found anyone with like a lot of loose skin or any sort of body type like mine since having lost weight. Like it's not out there. And you know, like with the autism stuff, I was very like, it's not out there, so I'm going to become that. I don't have the confidence in like myself and my body to put that online. No chance. You know, like maybe at some point in the future I'd hope I feel good about myself, but right now, like, I'd rather die than have people who see my loose skin. And there's definitely like a word or phrase I'm looking for that isn't double-edged sword, but that's all that's coming to mind, because it's this thing of like, I'm finally thin and people look at me and see like a thin person and they're nicer to me for it, but I don't feel like a thin person. I still don't feel like my body looks nice. I still don't feel like I can show my body off or wear a crop top or like low-rise pants. And frankly, my body moves really weirdly now because there's a bunch of just loose skin, so I still feel fat a lot of the time. You know, I'm not trying to use it as like a derogatory term here, it's just the feeling of like, I can feel this part of my body touching this other part of my body and shit like that, where it's like, it's how a fat body would work, but it's not, and it's weird and I don't like it. I don't know what the fuck I'm meant to do with it. And I don't think this is like fat kid trauma anymore that we're talking about, so I'm gonna wrap it up there. Yeah, growing up fat, like, is a mindfuck, and it leaves you feeling a lot of different ways, and it leaves a lot of trauma, and it was really fucking hard. And I really, really deeply pity fat children for how they're going to be taught about their bodies and taught about how they should feel about themselves, because half the time, more than half the time, it's really negative and really not good. And we should be teaching kids to love themselves and teaching kids that, like, how you are is absolutely fine. And also, when I was put into like sports and dance classes and shit as a kid, if I'd been put into them with the idea of like, this could be fun, this could be something you enjoy, this could be a new hobby, instead of this is exercise so you can lose weight, I might have actually fucking stuck to some of them and enjoyed myself at some point. But yeah, that's it for this video. I hope somebody out there relates, and to some degree, however you can, enjoys this video. I know it's a bit of a weird one, I know it's a bit like heavy and deep, but I feel like I wanted to talk about it, so I did. It's my channel and I can do that. I can just talk about what I want and do my own thing, and that's that. You've got to deal with it or unfollow. Please don't unfollow. I'm kidding. If you don't like me, please do unfollow. But if you do like me and you haven't already, it'd be lovely if you wanted to like and subscribe. What a fucking segue. I'm a promoter YouTuber now, so if you wanted to, you can also join me over on Patreon, where there's like behind the scenes content and early uploads and ad-free uploads. And I'm going to be posting a bunch more stuff. And you can also join me as a YouTube member, and you get a fun little mushroom foot thing next to your name, and like priority comments and a bunch of other stuff. And if you wanted to, you could also donate to me on Ko-fi, which would be fucking lovely actually, because I went to get cash out of the bank the other day and the ATM just didn't give me cash, and now it's going to take up to 17 days to give me my fucking money back, even though I didn't get the cash. It's a whole thing, so please do donate if you fancy it. You can use the links below to find what I've already spoken about there, and you can also find my TikTok, where I'm actually posting consistently and having a really fun time, and you can find my Instagram and my Twitter and all my other places that I'm at online. And yeah, that's the video. So whoever you are, wherever you are, I hope you're having a lovely morning, evening, day, afternoon, week, month, year, and I will see you again in a couple of days.